Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harrison. I read, review and discuss fantasy and science fiction books, and today we've got the May recap. So what I normally do is at the end of every month, if I've read enough books that I feel like it's worthwhile making one of these videos for you guys, I will go through every single book that I've read in the month. I'll tell you what I thought about them with some kind of non-spoiler thoughts. I'll give you my scores. I will then give you my book of the month. Then we'll talk a little bit about the YouTube stuff, and so that'll be like stats and income and things like that. And then finally, I'll talk to you guys about my book buying ban. So any money that I have spent on books, any money that I, whatever. So let's dive right into things with the books that I read this month. So I started this month with fishing around for the physical copy, The Third Rule of Time Travel by Philip Fracassi. Really liked this book. I ended up giving this one 5 stars when I read it. So this book is a time travel like sci-fi thriller. So if you've read like Blake Crouch, stuff like that, like this is very clearly heavily influenced, or let's say heavily influenced, heavily reminiscent to me of things like Recursion and Dark Matter. So Philip Fracassi has written this really excellent time travel story with what I thought was a really well done method of time travel, where like the mind travels back in time but not the person, and you just kind of travel back and you observe a moment in the past. And for a character like our lead here, you've actually she's got a pretty traumatic, awful past. So going back and revisiting these events is actually pretty horrible for her. And you have also, her husband has recently died in a tragic accident. And there's basically a lot of horrible things going on in her life. And the thrust of the book is that people are kind of trying to take control of the project away from her, to kind of sequester her away from this time travel stuff. And it's really well done. And there's a kind of a interesting mystery through the book. And the main hook of like, how and why are the points in time that the machine is sending you back to really worked for me as well. So interestingly, I rated this as 5 right when I finished it, and thinking back on it, I've downgraded that to a 4 out of 5. So still an excellent book and a recommendation from me. But the one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I mentioned this in a review as well, was the first third of this book is a little bit slow, and I read the first third, then put the book down, and then picked it back up, basically at the point where the story really started to get going. So I had like the second half of my reading experience with this, which was 2/3 of the book, was really good, and I think that's kind of that coloured my original score and my original opinion on it. But thinking back on it, I feel much happier with the 4 out of 5 that I've ended up rating this one. After The Third Rule of Time Travel, I read The Gathering Storm, which is Wheel of Time Book 12. This is the first book in the Wheel of Time written by Brandon Sanderson, based on the notes by Robert Jordan. So for those of you who are not familiar, The Wheel of Time is the longest running fantasy series, traditionally published at least. I'm pretty certain there's no other fantasy series that are longer, because most fantasy series are broken up into like multiple sub-series. So if you think like Tad Williams with the Memory, Sorrow and Thorn, he's written multiple books in that universe, but they're all split up. Same with Raymond Feist, same with Brandon Sanderson, same with Joe Abercrombie. I don't know many full fantasy series that are just one story, which The Wheel of Time is. Robert Jordan, who created and wrote the first 12 books in The Wheel of Time, unfortunately passed away before he could finish the series, and he, in his mind, had one book left to write. and he passed all of his notes for that book on to Brandon Sanderson. So I think it was actually his wife who passed them on after Jordan sadly passed away. And Sanderson looked at the notes and was like, okay, I think there's 3 books here. So Sanderson wrote 3 books, and all of them are monster tomes. This is 800 pages long. And it was excellent. This is one of my favourite... Is it my favourite? This is my favourite book I've read this year. Pretty much 100% guaranteed. I'm trying to think of one that I enjoyed more, and I really can't. This book gave me everything that I wanted. It had, fist-pumping action. It had fantastic character moments. It moved the plot on really well. We never had a wasted moment at all in this book. So, yeah, just absolutely fantastic. So much love for this book. This gave me the same sort of feeling that I had when I read Of War and Ruin, which I have previously in the past said was kind of my favourite fantasy novel ever. And when I finished reading Of War and Ruin, I got like chills, and I also got that multiple times throughout reading the book. And I got the same from The Gathering Storm. And I think that the reason why this works so well is that Sanderson was a huge Wheel of Time fan. So he had multiple times read the books, and he was able to, in this book, constantly refer back to things that had happened previously. So, you would get a new big story moment would take place at the same location as a previous one, for example. And the characters would be thinking about that previous moment. Jordan didn't tend to do that much referring back. He would often tie together storylines in ways you didn't kind of realise or work out in later books. Or he would resolve mysteries in ways that you couldn't really predict. But what Sanderson has done here is really reward the readers by going oh, you remember this, you remember this, you remember this. But while still telling a really interesting and original new story and really pushing forward the narrative. So he's not just doing a J.J. Abrams where he's like, hey, do you remember Chewbacca? Hey, do you remember the Millennium Falcon? He's going hey, do you remember this specific event in the Wheel of Time? And this is the twist I'm putting on it to make it a new and interesting step in the narrative for this story. And I really, really loved it. So if you want a little bit of a preview as to what my book of the month is going to be, it's probably pretty obvious. We'll talk about it later. After The Gathering Storm, I read Carl's Doomsday Scenario by Matt Dinniman. This is book 2 in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. This is a lit RPG series. I listened to this one via Audible and thoroughly enjoyed it. This particular one I felt was a very slight improvement on book 1, but not enough of an improvement to get it up to that 5-star level. So I still really enjoyed this book. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. I don't think there's too much to go into with this one. It was just a really good, fun book. It kind of felt a little bit like 2 side quests. One half of the book is one side quest and the second half of the book is another. But they kind of started to show where those quests, and there were bits and bobs of lore that were kind of building into the overarching plot of the series, which I was fine with. So yeah, incremental, maybe you could say incremental. I still enjoyed the book. It's very weird to be these are the things that I thought were kind of just okay about the book, but the overall experience, and maybe that is also attributed to Jeff Hayes' narration of the audiobook. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one. That was just a great book overall. After Carl's Doomsday Scenario, I did a bit of comic book reading. The one thing that I can really go into in depth, because I've finished it, is 8 Billion Genies. So 8 Billion Genies is by Charles Soule with art by Ryan Brown. And the concept of this book is basically, at the exact same second, every single person on Earth gets a genie, and that genie gives them one wish. And the idea behind it was that Charles Soule and Ryan Brown had come up with this as what they kind of thought was as an untellable story. It was impossible to write because, yes, 8 billion people get the genies, but if one person wishes that every single person on Earth was a Duracell battery, then the story ends, and there's 8 billion people on Earth, so the likelihood of someone making a stupid wish like that is true. Is very real. So they kind of fudge the numbers a little bit, and they don't let you make wishes that would end humanity. But we do get to see the development of humanity in a post-wish world. So you get these, you have 8 million genies, and they're kind of going, you see all these outlandish, insane wishes. So people want to be superheroes, people want to be 50 feet tall, people want a floating castle, people want 2 anime girls to fawn over them. All of these wishes are in the comic. I did like this book. I loved the first half, and I just liked the second half. They do this interesting concept where each issue is like an increment of time. So, like, the first issue is like the first 8 minutes or something, and then it's like the first 8 hours, the first 8 days, the first 8 weeks, and it goes on and on to like the first 8 centuries is where we finally end up. And that, because time moves so much in the second half of the series, that story I don't think is told as well. We miss a lot of emotional beats. We miss a lot of interesting story moments kind of happen off screen. And the introduction of like an antagonist, I don't think goes particularly well. It's a really good idea. And I think that Charles Soule and Ryan Brown have proved that it is an impossible story. It's a story that's very possible to tell. But I think it's one that the concept of how they laid out the story undermined the success of the story itself. I've actually done so all of these books that I've finished have full reviews, but 8 Billion Genies, I also have a full spoiler discussion with Charlie from Charlie Read a Book. So the first section of it is non-spoiler, so if you want kind of a bit of a non-spoiler discussion, and then when you watch it, you can watch it. When you've read it, you can watch the whole thing. It's pretty reasonably priced if you want to buy a copy online, and I do really recommend digital comics. I know people like to hold physical books in their hands, but a lot of digital comics are dirt cheap. So, and with the speed it takes you to read a comic, like I read this in an hour and a bit, maybe. And most comics I read in less than an hour. So, like, if you're the kind of person who likes to get your value for money, you may want to go digital. Anyway, weird side tangent. After 8 Billion Genies, I started reading The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. I haven't finished reading The Devils. I'm about 40% of the way in. I really loved part 1. Part 2 I found was a bit of a slog. I was instantly just like way less interested in what was going on in part 2. I'm hoping that part 3 will bring my interest back. Currently, it's weird. I would have said like part 1 was like a 5 out of 5, hilarious, great fun, and part 2 I'm like, okay, like this feels like a side quest. Let's get to the story, and that has been a bit less interesting. So that's like part 1 is like a 5 out of 5, and part 2 is like a 3 out of 5, and we're not getting enough character to make a diversion feel worthwhile for me so far. So yeah, I've got lots of praise for this book, but I don't want to go too deep into it until I finish it. I'm hoping to finish it like in the next couple of days so that I can review it for Monday, which will be Monday the 8th, I think. whatever next Monday is. So if I manage it, then you'll know because there'll be a review on Monday. Hopefully that makes sense. We don't talk about what I'm going to read next here usually, but just to let you know, in case you're curious, I'm going to be reading Never Flinch by Stephen King, the new Holly Gibney book. I love Holly Gibney, so any excuse to go back to her world, and it's a brand new book, so love a new release. After that, let's talk YouTube. So, good month on the channel this month. I did think that we would have hit 1,500 subs by the end of the month. But my subs have been kind of going up and down, weirdly. I expect YouTube's just doing a bit of a culling of all the bots. But decent month in terms of pretty much everything, really. So 8.3k views, which I'm really happy with. I feel like for a lot of this year, we've been hovering between 5,000 and 7,000. So going over 8,000 is really pleasing. Then 816 watch hours. Again, I feel like the average has been around 600. So going up to 800, great. Happy with that. I got 58 new subs. I do wish that my subs would recover to how the growth used to be back in the day. So like when I first started the channel, sub growth was obviously slow. But then there was like a bit of an expansion period. And I was gaining like 100 subs a month. And one month I got like 140 subs. But then it's been basically between 50 and 60 every month ever since. Maybe my channel has met the ceiling of the people that will enjoy it. But yeah, who knows? In terms of income. So this is one thing that I found really interesting. So just for the month of May, I earned £30. So that is the most I've ever earned in a month on YouTube. I would love for this to continue and for also to continue growing. And that's actually offset the spending I've done this month. So we talked a little bit about how I am on a book buying ban. So my rules on the book buying ban are that I'm only allowed to keep my broken binding subscription, and I'm allowed to buy indie books that I can't get from the author or the library or something like that. So I haven't actually needed to. I mean, I did get Dungeon Crawler Carl from Audible, but I have a ton of credits over there. And I do still keep that subscription because that's, I do usually pick up at least one audiobook a month. Back a while ago, I bought like a pack of credits, and they haven't run out yet. But yeah, so yeah, I am spending very, very little on books, and it's because last year I was probably spending like £100 a month on books, but then not reading those books, or like maybe not £100, maybe like 50. But then, like, not reading them, and that was really, really silly. Like, I shouldn't be buying books that I don't have plans to read in the near future. I do keep my broken binding subscription because I feel like either those books I'm going to love and they'll be perfect for the bookshelves, which I'm putting up very, very soon, or there'll be books that my friends might want to buy or that I can, put on auction sites or whatever. I don't want to just get things to resell them, but that's kind of the failings of the subscription model. So like the broken binding subscription model is really good for them because they get their consistent income. So they're like, right, we have X subscribers and we know that means we'll get X money, But for me, I wish that I could just be like, I wish you could just skip every book you weren't interested in, because like earlier this year, so I skipped the Rook and Rose series. That was the first sub-series for this year. But if the next series isn't to my liking, or not one that I want in my permanent collection, then like the only choice I have is to sell it on. I can't just go like, oh, let someone who's in the queue buy my books. And I can't go like, all right, I'll just sell them for face value, because the people on the like auction sites and on the like broken binding pages and stuff, they all go like, oh wow, a set at face value, I'll buy those and then resell them for the market value, which is usually, about 10 or more per book. And that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like, I don't like selling something for the face value and then someone turning around and reselling it, which has happened to me, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's a weird system, and I do kind of wish that they would just say at the beginning of the year, like, these are the series we're going to do, and you could just sign up for those, and when they run out, they run out. But like, that would be ideal for me personally. Anyway, so yeah, this has been a great month on the channel. The weird one, right, though, is that my best performing video that I made in May. So this isn't the video that got the most views. The video that got the most views was actually my Books Go Color 7 e-reader review. But the video that got the most views that I made in May was my weekly reading wrap-up for last week. Possibly because that video was called I Love the Wheel of Time, and it came out on the day that they announced the Wheel of Time show was cancelled. But, a lot of people have said they've subscribed in the comments from that video. So just wanted to say, if you're new here from last week's video, hello. Thank you very much for joining the little community we have. We will be reading another Wheel of Time book soon. So if you're a Wheel of Time fan, please keep subbing, keep watching. In terms of the worst video for this month, it was the Comic Club. It was the 8 Billion Genies discussion with Charlie. So if you think you might be interested in that, please do give it a view, because it's performing really badly, and it's really sad that Charlie gave his time to me for that discussion, and it's just performed really badly. I do think now that starting a second channel to talk about comic books makes a lot more sense. I don't have enough time to film more videos though, so I really don't know how I'm going to do it. I think that what I will probably end up doing is like getting a massive backlog of videos, and then I think what I'll probably do for the comic channel is I'll do like reviews on Mondays, the same as the book channel, then like discussions on Wednesdays, same as the book channel, and then on Fridays the weekly reading recap. So because I don't see anyone doing that for comics, no one's out here going like, these are the comics I read this week or whatever. Maybe that's on TikTok, but not on YouTube. Maybe it's not on YouTube because no one wants it. We'll find out. So yeah, that's what I think I'm planning on doing. But yeah, I'll want to have like a big backlog of stuff that I've read. So maybe this one won't launch until much later in the year. But yeah, I think that's the plan. I just don't want to massively hamper the algorithm's view of my book videos, because my bookish audience isn't interested in comics. And it's interesting because I do feel like a lot of the audience is interested in comics, but like, whatever. So that's the tentative plan. I'm thinking I might just call the channel Comic Club as well. I need to make sure that there's no other channels that are like got tons of subscribers that have the same name. I would like to pick a name that there's no unique names anymore for these things, but like you want to pick one that isn't a popular channel or like a currently uploading channel, if that makes sense. I've seen a few comic book channels doing a little bit of side research in the last couple of weeks, and some of them are like weirdly bigoted, because unfortunately I think some of the comics reading audience is not as left-leaning as the book reading audience. But I guess I'll navigate that when I get to it. You guys didn't really need to know about that. Right, what else did we need to run through? But yeah, more Comic Club stuff will be coming, and it'll be coming to its own channel most likely. So yeah, my thought process was, like I was saying, to do mostly videos that will be not like brand new comics content. So like reviews of older comic runs and stuff that I read. So yeah, I think that all makes sense. Hopefully that's a good idea and people will watch it. And like I say, yeah, I'm going to try and buffer it out. With something like the comic channel, I could probably like batch record like a month's worth of videos. I would just have to read a month's worth of comics to review. I don't know when that will happen. But yeah, so, and also I want to do things like who's the best Robin, or like interviews with comics creators, interviews with fans about their comics taste. So there's lots of things that I want to do around comics, and I've got all these ideas. Maybe, do you know what we should do? We should do the comic videos on the opposing days. So I should do a review on Tuesday and the wrap up on Thursday. That would be good, because then if you are into books and comics, you've got a video every day, just like I used to do. And that, while that wasn't super sustainable when it was around books, comics are a lot quicker to read. Like I said, I read 8 Billion Genies in like an hour. So that's what I think we'll do. We'll do Tuesdays and Thursdays. We'll batch record. We'll pre-record a ton of reviews. And I think that'll work. So if you'd be interested in the Comic Club, please do let me know down below, and let me know any videos that you think you would like to see. And I'll probably, over the next few weeks, start working on it. And then maybe I'll be ready to launch. Maybe I'll launch it at the end of the summer, because while my kids are off school over the summer, I just have a lot less free time. Because I can't do stuff in my lunch break, because I'm going to like hang out with my family in my lunch breaks and stuff. So hopefully that all makes sense. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little discussion and the mini preview pitch launch for Comic Club. Hopefully you have been reading some great stuff. Please drop down in the comments below and let me know what you've been reading. If you've been playing any games, if you've been doing anything like that over the month of May. What was your book of the month? And like the video to tell YouTube that it was great, and subscribe to join this lovely little community we've got building here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll speak to you on Friday.